The No Nonsense Roundtable. It's a weekly show broadcast on Rochester, New York's 50,000-watt iHeart radio station, News Radio Wham 1180. The host, Dom Geneva, interviews guests from all walks of life, all with amazing stories to tell. What you are about to hear is a recording of a previous broadcast without the breaks and commercials. Now, here's host Dom Geneva.
Well, welcome everybody to another edition of the No Nonsense Roundtable. I'm here with a gentleman whose name probably everybody knows. It's Paul DeCarolis of DeCarolis Trucks. And it was originally DeCarolis, right? I mean, the name got changed a little bit because of some advertising?
Yes, in the early times of advertising on the radio, they would pronounce it with DeCarolis. They made the O so big that we started changing it where we used to put an X over the O so that they called it DeCarolis. It sounded a little bit better, and it didn't call it echo the radio.
Oh yeah. The less syllables, the better, I guess. Yeah. For engagement and stuff like that. But I a lot of people, like I said, this is really a Rochester story, but it's more than just trucks. It's about a family. It's about a family's progression through the years. A family business that's been sold a few years ago.
A couple years
ago. And if this show is like People Magazine to get to know somebody, I mean, this is exactly the case for this show. So let's talk about your family and whatever, and your dad and how this whole thing started. Let's talk about the Big Bang. When did this originally start?
Okay, yeah. I'll go back. My father, at the age of 2. He had polio.
Oh.
And during the Spanish flu, his mother passed away, and his family was all put in an orphanage. So, and then back then, as he became more mature, during the Depression, my father started picking up laborers. In the early years with the Depression, anyone that wanted to work day labor would stand on certain corners in the city, and people would drive by and raise their hand. They want 4 employees, they want 2, and so forth. Anyway, my father used to pick them up and used to go to the local farms to pick fruit and vegetables. And then at the end of each day, the people were paid 5 cents per bushel. And then they obviously returned, back to where they were picked up. And then over a period of time, this Claps baby food, I don't know if you all remember that, but they used to be on University Avenue, and then they kind of moved over by Mount Reed and Lyle Avenue. They built a factory where they processed baby food. Well, they asked my father, as long as you're supplying the labor, why don't you haul the equipment, rather haul the produce over to the processing plant. So that really started his career, where along that company, he also built a warehouse, obviously, to handle the supplies and distribution, of that. And then over the years, he built a truck terminal. A truck terminal was for the carriers that were coming into the Rochester area. And over on the west side of town where we were, it was obviously a big manufacturing part where Kodak and Delco were there. So most of your major trucking companies started to make their base there. And from that, he over the years also we built I think it was in 52, he built a gas station and truck stop of which we it was actually a Texaco gas station, and back at the same time he sold the truck terminal and the warehousing back then to it was actually Bill Boulder Karting there was about 10 acres of between the warehouses and truck terminal. But when we had the gas station, we ended up getting a couple dealerships. I think it was 59. We became a Diamond T truck dealership, which over a couple of years they changed the name to Diamond Rio.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I'm familiar with that.
yeah. And as being a dealer, we sold quite a bit of, not quite a heavy duty, tractors, and in order to get them shipped in, I used to fly to Lansing, Michigan, and I would drive back triple decks. Tractors. It was exactly 562 miles, to Rochester. I never forgot it because
it's a long drive.
Because I did it, for so many times.
Yeah.
So.
And that was probably, I mean, the road system wasn't all that great back then, right? I mean,
no,
like these interstates you have now.
No, it wasn't so bad with the bigger tractors, but when you got into the smaller vehicles, you can only go so fast, and I'd have to get 5 or 6 cups of coffee to keep me awake.
And that's before there were all these truck stops.
Right.
That's it. No, so what you're saying, your dad, it was a steak truck, and just loaded the workers in the back of the steak truck, and you just dropped them off someplace, and you pick them up at the end of the day, right?
Well,
is that pretty much what it was?
But they would stay there.
Oh, okay.
On the grounds because he had to pay them. For the bushels.
Yeah.
And I guess somebody else then was transporting them.
Okay.
So then that's when Claps came in and said, as long as you're picking the produce, if you can get a vehicle, you can start hauling it. And so that's where he started hauling all the from the local farms.
There's a famous business story that somebody wrote years ago. It was in the Harvard Business Review. As a matter of fact, I have a couple of copies of it here. It's called Marketing Myopia. Marketing Myopia. They were talking about the railroads, and the railroads didn't really understand what business they were in. They're in the transportation business. They weren't in the railroad business, and they should have morphed. And you see these businesses that morph. I love to tell this story about, like IBM was the number 1 manufacturer of desktop computers in the 80s. And Apple almost went out of business, but then they morphed into the iPhones and whatever. So what I'm getting from you is that the company adapted and changed and went in different directions, but always seemed to grow. Then obviously the company that ended up in the 21st century was a hell of a lot different than the one in the early 20th century.
Oh yeah, that's for sure. The thing with being on the west side of town, it like I say, with all the most of your transportation and your industry was then that we also end up getting a dealership for Thermo King truck refrigeration, and that was a big operation because the just about all your trucks that held any kind of refrigeration, obviously had to be repaired. So that was a big.
In marketing, they call that niche marketing. You have a certain thing that a lot of people don't do, but you do, which is great. So we are about ready to head into the first break of the hour, and you're going to hear us. I always say you're going to see us. You're not going to see us. Well, you'll hear us, right after this. This portion of the show is brought to you by Martinizing Dry Cleaners in Fairport. During COVID days, I discovered a dry cleaner that would pick up and deliver. I discovered Martinizing in Fairport. I later discovered that the owner, Todd, was an ex-corporate employee who went on to start his own business just like I did, and his customer service is beyond compare. Google rating, 4.9 with 143 reviews, 4.9. Call 425-4242 or martinizing.com/Fairport. This is Dom from my friends at Fanatics Pub and Blue Stage in Lima, New York. Take a short scoot down 390 to exit 10, take a left, and a couple miles down the road, you'll find Fanatics Pub and Blue Stage. This week, Jim Shelley hosts Papa Chubby, May 3rd and May 4th. Papa Chubby, do you believe that? Even I know Papa Chubby. And the weather's getting good. His patio's open on the weekend, and they have free music. Exit 10, Route 390, you're there. I'll be there. Go see him. Well, welcome back. You're listening to the No Nonsense Roundtable. We're here with Paul DeCarolis of DeCarolis Truck Rental, a company that's been around since 1938. Dad started the company, and I have a copy of his book in front of me, and it says Paul DeCarolis, Living Up to the Name the Right Way, and it says by Annette DeCarolis, which... same name, figured she's related to you somehow or other. So let's talk about that.
Yeah, well, that happens to be my wife of 57 years.
Oh, God bless you.
Yeah, and obviously she kind of knew all the stories of going through trial and error over the years, and was certainly there to assist and all the help, all the help needed.
So how did you meet? Let's talk a little bit about your life and your family life and whatever. How did you meet Annette?
Well, it was interesting because my mother knew her mother very well, and they always kind of played cards together, with the neighborhood group and all that, and then eventually, she started helping my mother out on certain things, and then it went on, and eventually, back in 65, we ended up, getting married, and
I can kind of see how this is going though. It's like Annette, that Paul, he's a very nice boy, and then your mother, that Annette, she's a really nice girl. She likes you, right? I mean, that's probably what happened back then, right?
Oh yeah, well it was a little special because not everybody dated in a pickup truck, and when we dated, I might have had to go on a service call to change a tire or start a vehicle up or do something. But, that's how we dated, was in a pickup truck, a little grease around and everything else. And it was nice because, we were, I was always able to go over to her parents' house, her house, and obviously have supper, quite a few times. So it kind of became, I would call it, convenient.
Yeah. Now, okay, let me ask you like one of these human questions. Now, you say you've been married, 57 years, you said?
Yeah.
Okay, 57 years. Okay, what is the key to having a 57-year marriage and still being together and whatever? What is it?
Be honest with you, it just have a lot of patience through life, and in a lot of cases, no matter what you do, you're always wrong anyway. So I mean,
if you're the guy, that doesn't work. That doesn't work with a woman. No.
Yeah,
if you're the guy, you're always at fault. Yeah. Well, the thing is, when I went to college, I went to St. Bonaventure, so we had a priest that was teaching a theology course, and it was Christian marriage, and he basically said. The key is that you made a vow to love somebody, and that's even when you don't.
Yeah.
Like if you think this is all going to be peaches and roses and that's not the way it works.
Oh yeah, no, it was good. You needed the support because when you have a
business,
a business, you don't. It's not an 8 to 5 job. It's really a 24-hour job. Yeah. So she was really there to support the kids and keep the family together.
Well, I always like to say that my job was to protect and provide, and Nita's job is to keep everything alive. I don't care if it's as a plant, a pet, or a child. Right. She keeps them alive, okay? And I'll bring in the stuff to help her do that. But that's why you need a good partner, because there's ups and downs and whatever. And the thing is that we're all messed up in one way or another. There's nobody perfect. So there you go. So you were working there from being a teenager. So what was the first thing you were doing? Like washing the trucks or what?
Well. It gets very interesting. as a youngster, you do everything. You sweep the floors, you wash the trucks, actually you even pump gas. I worked a lot in the parts department also, and one day or one evening, whatever it was, after school, I rearranged some parts in the parts department, and the next day my father had to call the school to find out what I did with the parts and where they were. So it was pretty interesting. I always enjoyed it. Being my father, obviously he had polio, and my brother and myself, we were like his legs. We would do all the errands. We'd always be with him all the time to carry stuff and everything else. So, we kind of knew a lot of what was going on at a very young age. So, obviously, when on his passing, we really knew what a lot of things to do. But there's a lot of things, when you're young and you take over a business at that age, you really think you know everything. But I was very lucky. I found out quick how little I did know. And over the years, I surrounded myself with a lot with people that knew a lot more than I did on a lot of things. And that really was very helpful and very successful.
Yeah, I learned. I went to a sales training conference once at Chrysler, and I was working as a corporate employee. And the guy that got up in front of the stage, he goes, and this is back in the day, he says, the Red Cross. Everybody, know the Red Cross. Says, you know, Mrs. Dole is the head of the Red Cross. He says, yeah. He says, she's never drawn blood. She's never drawn blood with somebody. So what am I trying to teach you? He says, I'm trying to teach you that you need to have people that do things for you, but you don't need to have to do those things yourself. And isn't that the truth? You pick out good people and you treat them well, right? And you nurture them like you would any asset. And hopefully they pay off for you, and they're successful. It makes you successful, right?
Well, I've been very fortunate. Over the years, I've had some great mentors, and I have some unbelievable loyal employees, right from the mechanics up to the executives, of the company. And we were very fortunate that we had very, very little turnover. We had employees that worked for us for 20, 30, even 50 years, as long as I did in some cases. But but that really is part of the success of any kind of a business, is a stability, and customers see the same people all the time. Yeah. And so, I mean, that was, again, I was really blessed. And I think a lot of it helped, too, because I was involved, and I made it a point, to obviously visit, I know we're skipping a little bit on the family side, but I made it a point to visit all our branches almost on a weekly basis, which are over 10 locations throughout the state. And I became the donut man, because every time I would go, I'd have to, I went to, back then, I went to Wegmans, and I'd get 4 dozen, 5 dozen, 6 dozen, and I would visit the branches and customers on the way. So each way, one time I would go, go west, another time I'd go east, and another time I'd go south. But it was interesting.
Well, the thing is that I'm sure you would agree to this. Engaged employees make engaged customers. I was talking to somebody the other day, and I says, you can't have a bad morale problem in your sales department and have happy customers. It's just not going to work that way.
That's right. That's right.
So with that, believe it or not, we got through another break in just short stead here, and we are headed into a news break at the bottom of the hour, and we will be talking more to Paul, right after the news break. Here's a message from my friends at the Rochester Red Wings, the best sports team on the planet. Could be the universe.
The Red Wings are home this week to face the Syracuse Mets. Every Tuesday features half-price tickets. Wednesday has a replica home jersey giveaway at $6.05. Thursday is a business person special at $1.05. For tickets, visit redwingsbaseball.com.
Well, welcome back. You're listening to No Nonsense Roundtable. We're talking to Paul DeCarolis now from DeCarolis Truck Rental, and you sold the company to who? When?
Well, we sold it to Penske Truck Leasing.
And the trucks still say DeCarolis on them, right?
No, they changed.
they're
All the names are gone. So if you do see any, it's probably one that they missed.
Okay, because I thought I saw one down the road the other day.
Yeah.
This is a business. This works on. It's like an onion. This is so many different levels. It's a trucking story, a business story, a family story, a story of some very serious things that have happened in your life, and your dad passed away at a very young age, and you and your brother took over the business at a very young age. Now, when did your dad pass away again?
My father passed away in 1961,
and your mom shortly thereafter, right?
And he was 53, and 3 months later, my mother passed away at 48. And I was 20, and my brother was 21.
Now, what did they pass away? Your dad complications from the polio.
Well, I think back then it was the diet, heart. Things would have been easy today because they would have probably solved the problem. And all that.
Well, they even talk about. You just changed the subject just a little bit. I was talking to somebody who was in EMS. He says back then, EMS would pick you up and bring you to the hospital, and that was it. They would like a transportation, like Uber. Where now they come and they visit you, and they have a whole hospital in the van. So things are happening these days. At least with the medical stuff that we didn't even dream of back then. Yeah. But then you say your brother passed away in an accident, right?
Let me give you
go ahead.
a little history on that.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's in '64 we took on the Thermo King dealership, which is the truck refrigeration. And my brother was a great salesperson, and we were one of the top dealers.
Now, the refrigeration, are these the units itself that you tow or wherever that have it in it, or is it this, basically a refrigeration unit that you're interjecting in that? What exactly was it?
A Thermo King unit goes usually in the nose of a trailer or a straight truck, and that keeps all the stuff from
So you're talking about the trailer and a tractor trailer, and goes in the front of the trailer. Okay, I got you. All right,
and it keeps stuff, frozen. So, So we end up being one of the top dealers. So in '66, Thermo King had a trip to Japan for all their top dealers, and on March 5th, the plane crashed.
Oh my Lord!
At Mount Fuji with 124 passengers.
Or were they were touring Mount Fuji, or they were going from one place to another?
No, they were on their way there for
really
for a a dealer.
Yeah.
Sponsored trip. And out of that, 75 members were Thermo King dealers and Thermo King executives.
Ooh,
So in less than 5 years, I lost my father, my mother, and my brother, who was only 26 years old at that time, and I was 25, with 3 estates to settle and a business to run.
Oh my. So, I talk all the time about people have like intestinal fortitude. To overcome those things and then move on. That's formidable. So without your brother there, you had a lot more on your shoulders too. Is there anybody else who was a mentor back then that you turned to?
Well, back then we were, we did anything to do revenue in order to pay all our bills. So, we used to have not only the truck rental, we did repairs. We had the 2 dealerships. We did snow plowing. and we had dump trucks. After the passing of my brother, I ended up giving up the dealerships and just concentrating on 100% being in the truck rental and the leasing side.
Yeah. Now is it now the truck rental side? I mean, from my little knowledge of the business, you had Ryder, and then Jartran was Ryder, and then there were, I mean, how does this work? Because there's a lot of these national companies like we were just talking about, but are there a lot of local companies left anymore? I mean, I always say this, like the car dealerships. You know, you don't have local drugstores anymore like you used to. They're all Walgreens or CVS's or whatever. Is that happening with your business too?
Well, you have the national ones, which are your big ones, the Ryder and the Penske's of the world. Yeah. You got the U-Hauls and then you have a lot of you have also Enterprise, but then you have a lot of associations. You have like a National Lease, you have an Ideal Lease. They're independents that belong to, but have a brand.
Well, so like True Value Hardware, I would guess, right? I mean, you have an independent. Yeah. I always thought, I always tried to. I haven't got it really launched yet, but to have a no nonsense car dealer, be a franchise for the non-franchise deal, so I get where you're going with that. That's an interesting thought. Now, when you're leasing trucks, I mean, let's go like a minute or two about actually leasing trucks. I mean, like who typically would be? Do you have a typical customer for lease trucks? Now, the trucks are they 18-wheelers or all different types? Or I mean, tell me about the business itself.
The majority of our equipment was really the heavy duty stuff, heavy duty tractor and trailers. They were doubles.
They scare me.
And we leased, all different sizes, 26 footers, 28 footers, or even down to the G-Van type. But we had over 2,500 vehicles.
Oh.
When we sold the company, and we operated out of 10 locations.
Like who was
let's say 10 buildings with 7 locations.
Like who are your biggest customers?
Well, biggest customers are some of the trucking companies. At that time, one of our biggest ones was C&M Forwarding.
Okay.
They had quite a few hundreds of pieces of equipment.
Well, like Wegmans, they own their own trucks, or would they be leasing their trucks?
No, Wegmans owns and they lease.
Okay.
Yeah, and I would say, without naming a lot of them, I would say that most of your companies, your furniture companies, any refrigerated companies and all that, 9 out of 10 they were our customers.
Oh, okay.
And our equipment, really ran throughout the United States. Between all the amount of equipment, I think we ran over 44 million miles a year.
Wow. Wow.
On the equipment.
Well, with that, we are going into another break, and we'll see you in a minute or two.
This is Dom for my friends at Jack Greco Furniture. You drive your car. You live with your furniture. That's why Nina and I buy our furniture locally from Jack Greco. Hey, lots of old name manufacturers of furniture switch to mass production, producing their furniture, well, who knows where. Why settle for that? Jack has quality pieces made by true craftsmen, and if you need a custom piece, Jack can happily do that. End of season's upon us. Jack has quality outdoor furniture you won't find anywhere else. Go to jackgreco.com for more info. This is Dom for my friend John McClurk at McClurk Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram and McClurk Chevrolet in Perry, New York. Hey, the buds are coming out on the trees. Everybody likes a nice ride. Take a ride down to McClurk in Perry and see the great deals that he has on Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram vehicles and Chevy trucks. I tell you, John McClurk does business the old-fashioned way. He takes care of you. No nonsense. And used cars, he's got great used cars. See him today or go to McClurk Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram or McClurk Chevrolet. Well, welcome back. You're listening to No Nonsense Roundtable. I'm here with Paul DeCarolis of DeCarolis Truck Rental.
And I was going to say that you're an author, but you're really not an author. Your wife is the author. It says right here by Annette DeCarolis. So Annette, you get full credit for this. But the funny thing about this show, well, it's not funny, but the interesting thing that really fascinates me is how one thing leads to another. So I have Don Al Hart on the show one day. And he says, well, you really should take a tour of the Rotary Sunshine Camp. Because it's a magnificent facility and they do so many things for so many families. And okay, so I took a tour, and Tracy Dreisbach, who is the executive director, gave us a wonderful tour, Nita and I, of the Sunshine Camp. 160 acres, and the things that they do for kids of all abilities is wonderful, absolutely wonderful. So Tracy's been on the show a couple of times, and so she calls me up one day and says, well, there's this guy, Paul DeCarolis, and he's a Rotarian, and he has this book that he wrote. The wife wrote it, okay, and I just said, okay, Paul, you got this book. No, like, where do you get this book? I said, is it Barnes and Noble or no? He goes, no. He says, here we the proceeds from the book go to the Rotary Sunshine Camp. So. Now I know why she and wanted you to come on the show. So, so I have this here. I'm going to put this on my webpage. There's a QR code where you can get a copy of the book. And the book is Living Up to the Name. And we talked a little bit before the show about that, about your name, your reputation. My dad said once, he says, Dom, you have one reputation. When it's gone, it's gone. He says you have to be very careful and very, very protective of that. And so, Paul, let's talk about this book that I have here.
Yeah. Well, the interesting part, my son Louis, who was an important part of the company over the last 40 years, he wanted to preserve the family heritage when the company was sold. And his idea was to write a book about DeCarolis' legacy and his father, lifelong dedication to the company, the company and the people. My wife, I'll go back. My wife took the special project since she had lived with me for over almost 60 years.
Yeah, she really didn't have a choice. Yeah, I can see this. Yes.
Yeah. So then so after we decided to do the book. Then the question was, what are we going to do with it? Because we really didn't want to sell it.
Yeah.
And so we end up having a discussion with Tracy over at Rotary to see if they wanted to market it for a fundraising for the Sunshine Camp. So that's really what you did. I don't have any of the books. They're all handled out of the Rotary Rochester office, and and it's really a good hard copy. I think anyone that is familiar with at least transportation or is familiar with the company or the company name, I think would really find some very interesting history there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the thing about it is that I love promoting Rochester businesses, organizations, things, people, because this is a great place to live. I mean, I always say you need to live someplace else to realize how great Rochester is. And since this is sort of like the retail part of the show, I'm going to give you, wonderful boys and girls, a way of getting to the website to get this book. So it's rochesterrotary.org/PD-book, PD-book, which I assume stands for Paul DeCarolis dash book, rochesterrotary.org PD-book. Or you can go on my website. I'll have a spot for this on my website where you can just go and do that QR code.
They can either order it, and they can either have it mailed or they can pick it up. At their office.
And it's a hardcover book. I mean, this is class. This is really now. Obviously, you publish this yourself, right? Like they do these days.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm working on a book myself. It's going to take me probably 7 years to fix it, to finish it. It's like how to buy a car and not get taken for a ride. This sort of thing. So I think it'll work.
Yeah, that was published right at Rochester too.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it was.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the name of the company is in the second or third page.
Yeah.
They put their little.
So
insignia.
a family business since 1938, ups and downs and whatever. Now, if you were to give, well, let me back up a little bit. Every once in a while, I have the great honor of giving a guest lecture at RIT to a bunch of students, business students. If you were to give a little pieces of advice from being in business as you have been all these years, what would you say to some young people?
Well, being that I never had any of those kind of courses, you can be very book smart, but when you go out in the field, you're going to find out that a lot of that stuff doesn't work.
I agree.
It takes a lot more involvement as far as, the opportunities that are out there. And the other part too is being in our kind of business and everything else, everybody pushes kids to have a college degree, and there's so many opportunities out there with all the different opportunities as far as construction or
I totally agree with you with that.
Being in anything, and even a barber, for God's sakes, there's so darn many opportunities, and the incomes. If you look at technicians and all that, I mean, they make just as much as any professional people, and they don't have all that to go along with it.
I totally agree with you. I think that the society, I'm not saying any of us in particular, have a tendency of saying, oh, Johnny's not going to college. Well, you know what? You can go to college and not have something that is what I call a marketable skill. Right. I mean, you go to college for and you get a degree in Russian history. So, you're very well educated in Russian history. But there's not much call for that. And if you're talking about supporting your family, you can be in the trades. I mean, the things you can do, like common sense. I was not a gifted student, but I learned a lot of stuff outside and a little bit of street smarts and adaptation. I know you're the same way.
Well, when you have a trade, you have a job for life.
Right.
So no matter what you do, your skills are always valuable. Mm-hmm. And the way things are today, it makes good sense because the skills are so many opportunities out there.
Oh yeah. Yeah, no, I like to give the example of a diesel mechanic at my dealership. You have to you're an engineer. If you're a diesel mechanic, you're an engineer. And I had a fellow work, I talk about this all the time, 23 years old, he's got a house, he's got a boat, he's got a child, he's doing perfectly well, and he's not even 25 yet, right? Because he's got a marketable skill. And that's it. So, through life, to have these family businesses that have been woven into the culture of Rochester like yours is certainly wonderful. It's been great talking to you today. Believe it or not, we're at the end of the show. And so everybody, you can go to, let's see this again, as rotary.org /PD-book to get a copy of Paul's book. And I have one here, so I'm going to have this for the rest of my life because it is a very nice hardcover book. And thank you for stopping in. And, we'll have to have you on again someday.
Thank you for having me.
Well, next week, everybody, is the No Nonsense Roundtable 10 to 11 right here.
Thanks for listening. Tune in 10 a.m. Saturdays or stream at wham1180.com. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll make more.